How do guys, I am Troubadour and welcome back to some more Smite Season 8. I think it's about time we tackled my personal favourite role within Ranked Season 8 at the moment, and that is the one, the only, solo lane. Today we take an analysis into Terra and what is required for you to excel with her in a ranked scenario. Now Terra isn't typically banned within the ranked scene and can be quite a good option to have in your solo lane for that reason. I personally let out a cry of pain if I see her turn up within the solo lane, that's for sure. She is so strong at the moment due to her survivability during the late game, but also her damage output feels pretty strong in all honesty. Especially in the early game with the 1v1 brawls being very common. The best part is that she never really falls off, and there has been many occasions where I end up having a large amount of damage alongside a large amount of total damage mitigated. This build is specifically a solo build, as Terra is a goddess that also sees a lot of play within the support role, and she is also excellent here. As always, this guide is designed for those of you who are already comfortable with the solo lane and comfortable with Terra and her kit, as this particular video is designed at taking Terra to that next level rather than covering the basics. Anyways dudes, let's get right into the build. And so first things first, your starter item. Typically in these build videos, I list two viable options for you here, but in all honesty for Terra, Mannequin Scepter is probably your best option in the solo lane. Not only is it going to help you take the totem per se, the mana camp and the middle scorpion far easier, due to the fact it helps you clear jungle camps as it does more damage, it's also sublime as it really helps Terra pump out a lot of damage due to her AoE auto attacks. It's going to be hitting many minions and having a lot of tick physical damage there. Her only lane clear due to this becomes insanely good without her needing to use too much mana. Mannequin Scepter I believe is en route to be nerfed in the next patch, but until then, this is definitely your solo lane option. Following on is your core items, and this is possibly the smallest core item section I've done to date, but yeah, here they are, the Shoes of the Magi and the Breastplate of Valor. Although if you are facing a magical opponent in the solo lane, then you should build Genji's Guard instead, as you will still receive the cooldown that Breastplate of Valor provides, however yet you will receive the magical protections required in order for you to accommodate for your new magical opponent in the early game. The next item is always crucial, and it can either be the Stone of Binding or Void Stone. They both provide you with power alongside defense, which is pretty sweet in the solo lane. Also, they are real cheap, so you don't have to bust out too many stonks in order to purchase them. Although which one you choose first out of the Binding Stone and Void Stone will certainly depend on your opponent. If the solo laner is a physical damage user, Stone of Binding is your option there. However, if they're a magical damage user, then you want to build directly into Void Stone. Void Stone is especially good if your team has more magical damage users rather than physical, due to its passive ability being an aura that lowers magical protections of the enemy team within 55 units of you. That correlates to a large amount of damage within teamfights due to Terra being very close quarters. The last item I typically go for is once more a damage flex item in the form of Ethereal Staff, providing I don't need any more imminent defences. As an example, say me and my team are getting absolutely destroyed by an enemy Nuwa or Danzaburu. By the way, as a side note, these guys totally need a new nerf, by the way, Smite. Please make it happen in the next patch. Like, especially Nuwa, she's absolutely absurd right now. Anyway, yeah, so say we're getting destroyed by these two in the late game, this is where I would then counter build a little in the hope of a late turnaround. As otherwise, if we built even more damage and we're already getting destroyed, more likely or not we're going to continue getting destroyed, and the damage extra we build isn't going to help us that much. But if we are winning, or if it's a close game, then the Ethereal Staff is a great late game item, and despite it being costly, you'll certainly get your worth out of it. Once every 15 seconds, an ability you hit will restore 8% of your total mana, and 6% of your maximum health. And honestly guys, this has led to so many clutch situations where I had the enemy team distracted by me in a team fight for example, because I am extremely low health, but I managed to survive due to this item providing me with a little bit of sustainability in mana and health, and then I managed to distract them or lure them into a trap in the jungle where my ADC for example is there waiting to go on cleanup duty and an absolute rampage and show them who's boss. Or even if I did die luring them into a trap where my enemy team is lying, then we win the team fight overall, as they were distracted by me trying to kill me, and we manage to take an objective or even just kill them and get the deicide. It varies how effective it is obviously, but the Ethereal staff, honestly in the late game you really do get your use out of it. When selling boots however is where you're going to lose a little bit of damage, and that's again why I recommend the Ethereal staff, as it is best to certainly build a defense item here when you replace your boots, as it is where your opponents will begin to do even more large amounts of damage, and if you don't, then you're going to begin to suffer a little bit, as you are meant to be a frontliner. You're going to need to be able to take at least a few punches. If you need anti-heal, then I recommend Pestilence or Contagion, depending on what type of damage it is that they are doing, and if your opponent is a little bit crit heavy for example, which is definitely strong right now. Then Spectral Armor is going to help prevent these critical hits doing as much damage to you, although sometimes even with Spectral Armor it feels like criticals are absolutely crazy, but honestly as long as you all hold your own, Spectral Armor is going to begin to help at least a little bit. So Terra, as much as I love her, has one massive weakness, and that is gods that are able to silence her. She is typically so strong because she combines her abilities in quick succession with one another, and this is why she hits like a fucking truck sometimes. She charges into her wall for example, blats that down, drops her stone, charges into that also, leaving quite high burst damage. However, gods with a silence such as Ganesha, that's also AoE bearing in mind, so it's hard to escape from, are going to prevent her from performing this combo to its optimal potential. Instead you're just going to be left lying there without any real damage like most Guardians don't on their autos. Even though you would have built Mannequin, your autos aren't going to be that much help in the team fight. So bear that in mind before you take on gods like Ganesha or Nox that contain a silence, especially Ganesha's though, as it's AoE. And that's pretty much it guys, I did it, a season 8 solo build. It was about time as I fucking love the solo lane, but here it is. Massive thank you to everybody who is new here, as I really appreciate all of the love and support I've been gaining recently, and as it's inspired me to keep going. And if you're returning and enjoyed one of my previous builds, thank you for coming back. You're fucking awesome and I love you to bits for it. If you have any requests for future gods or goddesses, be sure to drop them in the comments below. I'll read through every single one. Or go on over to my Twitter, @TrueBloodOrc, to take place in the votes that I have with polls, because if I don't sometimes know what god to do, I'll make a poll and people can vote there. That's pretty much it from me, my dudes. Take it easy and I'll catch you next time. Take care.